Man, that last post is something I have to elaborate on that because my mom did an amazing job on that. And a lot of you wonder, like, why do your kids lie? Why do they do these mischievous things? It's because you're allowing them to. We are all raised a certain way, and we're also all born a certain way. We come into this world as sinners. So you have to train a child up in the way that they should go. You teach them how to behave in society. They don't just come out knowing it and then you blame it on characteristics of family members. You have to teach them. When I was young, and this is going to seem so trivial, but this is how you teach them. I used to lie about like getting snacks. And I'm speaking specifically to those of you who are just saying or chopping it up to it being just a characteristic that they inherited. It's not just a character. It may be a characteristic that they inherited, yes, but you are supposed to mold that characteristic into what it should be. You're supposed to teach them about that characteristic and how not to use it. If your child is manipulative, teach them how to change that. Teach them that that's evil. Teach them what it is. They really don't know. They don't know. When I was a kid, I used to lie about getting snacks. So I may get like chips or something, and then my mom will wonder, where did these chips go? She'll ask me, and I'll say, I don't know. Once, I want to say it was as soon as, like, this did not last long at all, guys. She nipped that in the bud because as soon as she saw that I was lying about it, I got in trouble for it. It wasn't don't do that. Why did you lie? It was like I'm on punishment because she took lying serious. We need to start taking these characteristics that we see in our children that we don't want them to grow up to be very serious. That way, they literally don't become that person when they grow up. I despise lying. First of all, I don't see a point in lying. If I lie to you, it's because I'm afraid of you. What am I afraid of? She put in my head when I was young that lying is absolutely disgusting. And I have believed that my entire life. I can't stand when people lie. I think it's a waste of time. I think it's pointless because it doesn't get you anything. 9 times out of 10, if somebody's lying, or at least you find out later. And then in the end, they may have gotten something at the very most for a certain amount of time, but then they lose in the end. So you never win. You never win when you lie. I despise it. And that's because my mom had taken that very trivial moment of chips and made a big deal about it because it was a big deal because I was lying. And so we need to start making these characteristics that are demonic a big deal because manipulation, lying, all of that, lying is manipulation, right? It's a form of manipulation. If your child is exhibiting mischievous behavior, that is, of course, demonic. And I'm not saying your child is a demon. Listen to the words that I'm saying. I'm saying that it's demonic and it's coming from the evil one. Of course, the evil one wants to attack your child because God sent them here. So if you think back to your own life, when did the devil first attack you? When you were young. That's when you were vulnerable. You didn't even know what you were doing. You didn't know where you were in the world. You were just here. And so that's when Satan comes in and attacks us. And that's why, gosh, I'm so happy I'm not a parent like today, because just thinking back to the type of life I was living, I could have just led that child astray. Being a parent is a very big responsibility. All of you parents know, but it's not a big responsibility because of all the stuff you have to do. That's not why it's a big responsibility. There's plenty of things in life that require a lot of your time. It's a big responsibility because you are completely responsible for how this human comes out when they become an adult. You are responsible for it. And people wonder like, oh, why do we have so many serial killers? Why do we have so many this and that and this and that? Nobody's looking at the parents. Guys, look at their childhood. Like, we wonder why the dating world is so hard. the parents. We wonder why people are so fake these days. It's because of the parents. We wonder why so much evil is rampant in the world. It's because of the parents. Of course, there's always a rabbit hole of going down where it came from beyond the parents, that's when you get into the spiritual realm. Yes, but ideally, we all have free will. We make choices, right? We are presented with evil and we're presented with good, and then we make a choice based upon the information that is already ingrained in us, which is why you have to ingrain in your children the right things. So I don't even know where that came from just that little post. But I think it's just because I know what I've experienced. I know what I've experienced in this world, and I know that most people are experiencing the same things. But what I'm confused about is why we have so many posts on social media that's talking about how much false or fakeness that they're experiencing in this world when the fakeness is prevalent. So it's got to be some of you that's complaining about it that's actually doing it. And we have to look at where that comes from. So one thing that I love about millennials, the millennial generation, is that we have realized, we have to unlearn what we've been taught since we grew up. And that includes things like the characteristics that were praised, or the characteristics that were maybe not praised, but ignored. If your child is lying about little things, that is important. You wonder why your child is a certain way. You wonder why your child is like, even with friendships, you wonder why your kid is like having a hard time making friends and stuff like that. And it has nothing to do with like maybe they're just simply being bullied, because that's a whole nother side, right? Whole nother story for a whole nother day. But let's say that's not the case. Let's say it's actually your child and you're wondering why. It's because they have these characteristics that what people should be shunning from. Like, you shouldn't be dealing with people who are two-faced. You shouldn't be dealing with people who are lying, talking behind your back, gossiping about you. Like, the fact that this is so prevalent, and it's literally a demonic spirit, but it's either praised or it's just ignored. For the most part, it's more ignored than it is praised, right? We don't necessarily praise it, but we ignore it. And that results in the same thing as praising. I see, talking to women, I can't talk to men, I'm not a man. I see so many women that post about being a Proverbs 31 woman, and they exhibit no characteristics of that. It's being a Proverbs 31 woman it's more than just the words that are in that particular verse, just that verse. You've got to have those characteristics that Christ wants us to have. So if you're sitting there literally like being malicious towards people, gossiping behind their backs, like in such a malicious way. When I say gossip, I'm not saying you're talking about somebody and there's no malicious intent behind it. I'm not talking about that. I'm saying you're literally talking down on somebody behind their backs. Family members do this, friends. I'm not just talking about just friends. I'm listing these things because these are the most prevalent in the female community. The most prevalent. Gossiping, being two-faced, because what comes with gossiping typically is you are gossiping about somebody behind their back with malicious intent, and then you're going into their face and you're smiling in their face as if everything is okay. That is probably the most demonic characteristic you can have. And that's not a part of being a Proverbs 31 woman. I don't know where all this came from off of just that one post, but I will say it for sure needed to be said. We see it way too much. We see it in the church. You should not be gossiping at church. You should not be gossiping at all. But I'm speaking just about the church right now. There should be none of that. You talking down on somebody, there should be none of that. That's supposed to be where you go to truly experience the presence of God. And you are inviting a spirit that is the opposite of that. There should be no cliques in church. There should be none of that. Like, it's actually disgusting. And that is the reason why we have so many unbelievers who are saying that they actually did try church out and they had a really bad experience. That's a piece of church hurt. Guys, we gotta stop. If you're not Christian, I mean, I don't expect you to get this or understand or anything. If you are Christian, you need to get this. Because at that point, you are interfering with someone's deliverance. I don't know. I know it's super prevalent in this world, and I'm one person speaking against it, but wrong is wrong. We gotta stop this. Some of you are also concerned with why you have the relationships that you have or don't have the relationships that you have. And you're one of the people that's being two-faced. I mean, come on, you can't expect to get genuine people if you aren't genuine yourself. So pray about that. Go to God and ask him to give you a clean heart and make you this genuine person that you should desire to be.